Hello, and welcome back to Retro Rewind. Today we are putting 10 songs from 1960 against 10 songs from 1970. Same genre, same energy, head-to-head, and at the end of every round, one song wins. Let's find out which year reigns supreme. Round 1, orchestral pop/easy listening. Theme from a Summer Place, 1960, versus Bridge Over Troubled Water, 1970. 1960 opens with Theme from a Summer Place by Percy Faith. It spent 9 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the longest run of any song that entire year. Lush, cinematic, and built entirely on strings, it was the kind of record that made people stop whatever they were doing and just listen. A remarkable achievement for an instrumental. 1970 answers with Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. Written by Paul Simon and performed with breathtaking restraint by Art Garfunkel, it won 5 Grammy Awards, including Song of the Year and Record of the Year. It spent 6 weeks at number 1 and became one of the defining songs of its generation. Percy Faith gave the world something beautiful. Simon and Garfunkel gave the world something eternal. 1970 wins round 1. Round 2, country crossover. He'll Have to Go, 1960, versus Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head, 1970. He'll Have to Go by Jim Reeves represents 1960.
Your friend there with you, he'll have to go.
Velvet-voiced and impossibly smooth, Reeves took this song to number 2 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on the country chart. It stayed on the Billboard chart for an extraordinary 36 weeks. The production was minimal. The emotion was everything.
You can't say the words I want to hear.
1970 responds with Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head by B.J. Thomas.
Raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling.
Written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David for the film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, it won the Academy Award for Best Original Song and spent 4 weeks at number 1. Breezy, optimistic, and impossible to shake. Both songs crossed over from country sensibilities to mainstream pop audiences. But the Oscar, the Bacharach pedigree, and the sheer cultural reach of Raindrops give 1970 the edge. Round 2 goes to 1970.
Doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red.
Drop a yes in the comments if you grew up hearing either of those songs on the radio. Round 3, rock/guitar driven. Cathy's Clown, 1960 versus American Woman, 1970. Cathy's Clown by the Everly Brothers takes the 1960 slot. It was the first single released on the Warner Brothers Records label, and it debuted at number 1, spending 7 weeks at the top of the Hot 100. The harmonies were unlike anything on radio at the time. Clean, aching, and perfectly constructed. 1970 fires back with American Woman by the Guess Who. Heavy, buzzing, and built on one of the most recognizable guitar riffs of the decade, it gave Canada its first number 1 hit on the American charts. Randy Bachman's riff started as an accident during a live show. The song that grew from it spent 3 weeks at number 1. This is a stretch match in terms of genre. The Everlys were melodic pop rock. The Guess Who were proto-hard rock, but both are guitar-forward and era-defining. In this round, the harder edge and bigger cultural footprint of American Woman carries the day. 1970 wins round 3. Round 4, Heartbreak Ballad, I'm Sorry, 1960, versus Band of Gold, 1970. I'm Sorry by Brenda Lee was recorded when Lee was just 15 years old.
I'm sorry, so sorry.
It spent 3 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100 and crossed over to both the country and the R&B charts simultaneously. The power in her voice at that age was simply astonishing.
I was too blind to see.
1970 answers with Band of Gold by Freda Payne. A A song about a marriage that falls apart on its very first night. It reached number 3 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on the R&B chart in the UK. Payne's delivery was controlled, elegant, and devastating. The genre match here is a stretch, country pop against soul pop. But both songs are built on genuine heartbreak, and both singers delivered performances far beyond their years. This round is close. But Brenda Lee at 15 recording a song with that kind of authority is one of the most extraordinary facts in pop music history. 1960 wins round 4.
You tell me, mistake.
Round 5, iconic ballad, It's Now or Never, 1960 versus Let It Be, 1970. And here is the round you have been waiting for. It's Now or Never by Elvis Presley.
It's now or never, my love.
Based on the Italian classic O Sole Mio, it became one of the best-selling singles in history, moving over 20 million copies worldwide. It spent 5 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100. Elvis had never sounded more operatic, more powerful, or more in command.
When I first saw you, with your smile so
1970 answers with Let It Be by the Beatles.
Let it be. And in my arms.
The final single released by the greatest band in pop history, it reached number 1 in multiple countries and carried the weight of an ending that the whole world felt. Paul McCartney wrote it after a dream about his late mother. Drop a yes in the comments right now if you have a strong opinion about which of these two songs is greater. This is the closest round in the entire battle. Both songs are once-in-a-generation recordings.
Shines on me, shine until tomorrow.
But the sheer global sales record of It's Now or Never gives Elvis the narrowest of edges. 1960 wins round 5.
it's now or never.
Round 6, gentle pop ballad, Teen Angel, 1960 versus Close to You, 1970. Teen Angel by Mark Dinning was one of the most controversial songs of its era. A teen tragedy ballad so dark that several radio stations refused to play it. That did not stop it from reaching number 1 for 2 weeks in early 1960. 1970 counters with Close to You by the Carpenters. Written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David, and sung by Karen Carpenter in a voice the world had never heard before. It spent 4 weeks at number 1 and launched one of the decade's most beloved careers. Karen Carpenter's vocal control on this recording is still studied by singers today.
On the day that you were born, the angels got together.
Mark Dinning made a cultural moment. The Carpenters made a classic. 1970 wins round 6.
On the day that you were born, the angels got together.
Round 7, R&B Motown. The Twist, 1960 versus Ain't No Mountain High Enough, 1970. And here is where 1960 finally draws first blood in the second half. The Twist by Chubby Checker is one of the most culturally significant songs ever recorded.
We're gonna twist it, till we tear the house down.
It is the only song in Billboard history to reach number 1 on 2 completely separate chart runs. Once in 1960, and again in 1962 when it was re-released. It launched a dance craze that swept the entire country. Grandparents and teenagers were doing the same dance in the same ballrooms. Nothing like that had ever happened before.
Yeah, you should see my little sis.
1970 responds with Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Diana Ross. A solo statement of stunning ambition, it reached number 1 and earned Ross a Grammy nomination. The orchestration was enormous, and her performance was fearless. In any other round, Diana Ross wins easily. But The Twist changed the relationship between music and the human body in a way that no other song on this list can claim. 1960 wins round 7. Round 8, Uptempo, Running Bear, 1960 versus War, 1970. This is the biggest genre stretch in the entire battle. Running Bear by Johnny Preston was a novelty pop song built around a Native American love story.
Good running bear, young Indian brave.
and it spent 3 weeks at number 1 in early 1960. Fun, propulsive, and very much a product of its time.
Across the way, her little heart was beating.
1970 Answers with War by Edwin Starr. One of the greatest protest songs ever recorded, it reached number 1 for 3 weeks and became an anthem of the anti-Vietnam movement. Starr's vocal performance was raw fury from the first second to the last. The genre match here is loose at best, novelty pop against soul funk, but both songs had enormous chart momentum. In terms of pure lasting power and cultural weight, this is no contest. War is a masterpiece. 1970 wins round 8. Drop a yes in the comments if you think 1960 still has a chance. Round 9, crossover, El Paso, 1960 versus I'll Be There, 1970. El Paso by Marty Robbins was a cinematic Western ballad that ran nearly 4.5 minutes at a time when radio stations rarely played anything over 2.5.
The night were the eyes of Felina, wicked and evil wildcats.
It spent 2 weeks at number 1 and won the Grammy for Best Country and Western Recording. Robbins told a complete story: love, jealousy, gunfight, and death in a single song.
I caught a good one, it looked like it could run up on its back and away.
1970 counters with I'll Be There by the Jackson 5.
I'll be there. Don't you know?
Written by Berry Gordy, Hal Davis, Willie Hutch, and Bob West, it became the biggest-selling single in Motown's Detroit-era history, displacing Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Michael Jackson was 11 years old. The tenderness in his voice on that recording is almost impossible to explain. Both songs are extraordinary examples of emotional storytelling through music. But I'll Be There by a 12-year-old delivering one of the finest vocal performances in Motown history is simply too powerful to beat. 1970 wins round 9.
Just look over your shoulders, honey.
Round 10, up-tempo rock, Stuck on You, 1960, versus Get Ready, 1970. Stuck on You by Elvis Presley was the first single Elvis released after his 2-year stint in the U.S. Army.
Because I'm stuck on you. I'm gonna run my finger.
Recorded just weeks after his discharge in March 1960, it shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 4 weeks at the top. It showed the world that Elvis had lost none of his energy or swagger during his time away.
I'm on Miss Daddy's side, and that's how our love is gonna keep us tied.
1970 closes with Get Ready by Rare Earth.
'Cause here I come. I'm bringing you a love.
Originally recorded by Smokey Robinson for The Temptations, Rare Earth turned it into a nearly 20-minute live experience that became one of the defining rock performances of the early 70s. The single edit reached number 4 on the Hot 100. Ambitious, groove-driven, and ahead of its time. Elvis debuting at number 1 straight out of the Army is one of the great comeback stories in pop history. In this final round, the sheer audacity of that moment carries the day. 1960 wins round 10.
Like glue, stick because I'm stuck on.
And that is how it ends. 10 rounds, 7 wins for 1970, 3 wins for 1960. 1970 takes it. And honestly, with Bridge Over Troubled Water, Let It Be, Close to You, and Ain't No Mountain High Enough all in the same year, it was never going to be easy for the other side. But 1960 gave us the twist: Elvis returning from the Army, and Brenda Lee at 15 years old breaking hearts on the radio. That is a year worth remembering. Now here's your question before you go. Round 5, Elvis versus the Beatles. Do you agree with the result? Drop your verdict in the comments. If you enjoyed this battle, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. We will see you then.